Hey, everybody, and welcome to IndieQuest, a celebration of the indie and obscure, your podcast all about the celebration of indie games. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Steve. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's a shame that the people can't know just how beautiful, because this is an audio-only affair.
So, man, I've been thinking about something lately. Taco Bell. I know you're a big fan.
Oh, yeah.
So this is way off topic for an IndieQuest, but you know what? I wanted to start the show talking about food, because talking about food is like a ever-present thing. Like, anybody could talk about food and relate to it, I feel like, especially if you're a fan of Taco Bell.
Well, and anyone that I want as a listener is a fan of Taco Bell.
So I wanted to ask you, what's your go-to Taco Bell orders? You just roll up there, regular dinner time, not too hungry, just want some dinner, not trying to stuff your face, just trying to get a decent meal. What do you order when you go through the Taco Bell line?
The one guarantee that I am absolutely unwilling to compromise on is the Cheesy Gordita Crunch. You got to start with the Cheesy Gordita Crunch. I think the Cheesy Gordita Crunch might be the best restaurant food item of all time. It's scientifically created to be addicting and delicious. It cannot be beaten. But after that, what else do I got going on? Usually, I'll put a cheese quesadilla on there. I like the cheese ones. I don't really like the meat, like the steak or the chicken too much. And then I mix up the third item. Third item might be whatever goofy seasonal thing they got going on. Might be a chili cheese burrito. Might just be a soft taco. I don't know. But it's always three things, those two, and a bonus.
Do you always get Baja Blast, or do you mix up the drink?
I mean, you know me. I'm usually drinking coffee at all times of the day, every day, so I usually don't need a drink. If I'm gonna get a soda, I would do Baja Blast, but I actually, for as unhealthy as my diet can generally be sometimes, I do all right, and I don't drink very much soda at all.
I'm the same way. Lately I've been getting the Baja Blast Zero if I want a soda from there. But it's not as good because, it's all fake sugary and stuff. But in my head, as I'm drinking it, I can tell myself, yeah, this is Baja Blast. You know what I mean? Because I know it's a little healthier because I'm already eating Taco Bell, which I know is not super good for me already as it is. But my order is usually, depends on how hungry I am. If I just want a snack, and if I want a food, I always start with the Crunchwrap Supreme every single time. But I get super particular with it. No tomatoes, and then add jalapenos. And then sometimes if I feel a little feisty, I'll add black beans also. And that's pretty good. Usually, if that's just a snack, I'm just trying to get something quick for a lunch, I'll probably just grab that. But if it's dinner time, I want to eat a meal, I'll get a beefy 5-layer to go with that and 2 soft tacos. And then I'm pretty set. And then if I'm feeling a little weird, I'll get whatever weird $5 box they have, instead of that. Because sometimes they'll have the nacho fries or the double-decker quesadilla, chalupa, Grand Slam, whatever. Just a ridiculous combination that they always come up with.
Yeah, I have a friend whose order is also by standard a Crunchwrap, and she always wants to get it with no tomatoes like you. And then specifically, she wants it extra grilled, which I've always thought is just the most extra, over the top request that you can make of someone. Even though I know all kinds of people do it, it reminds me of asking for your coffee to be extra hot. Yeah. It's just this is something they were already planning on doing, and you're asking them to do it more.
Yeah. So would that make it taste burned? That would be my question on that one. Is it going to taste all charred? Because it already tastes. When you cook a tortilla where it's a little charred and black, it's already a little burnt tasting, you know what I mean, as it is. So I wonder if it would be nasty. I don't know. Maybe not.
I think that she just doesn't trust them to grill it the standard amount. She thinks that they'll try to save time. So she asks for it extra grilled just to ensure that it is at minimum the standard amount of grilled.
Yeah, I don't blame her on that one. But I do enjoy their random, just ridiculous menu items. Taco Bell is really 10 ingredients in just weird different ways. They just mix and match, So it's yeah, we got a gordita, but we decided to put a taco in it and then make it into nachos because, we could do that if we want to.
Or they release the the grilled cheese burrito, and it's just a regular burrito with the cheese on the outside.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try that. And then I'd like pick it up and my hand is just covered with cheese grease. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to eat this again. But hey, I tried it once. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And okay, I know we actually have a pretty big segment of our audience that is Taco Bell executives. So I'm talking to that segment right now. All you Taco Bell execs out there, bring back that volcano taco. Bring back that volcano burrito. Your boy wants some spice.
I like the volcano burrito. That's a solid pick right there. I haven't thought about it in forever either.
I think about it every day.
They got rid of the Doritos Loco Flamas also, which I would get that from time to time. My mouth's watering just thinking about it right now. Just it sounds so good.
Was that the hot version of the Dorito taco?
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't sell very good, but it's like basically like a flaming hot / lime with lime added on the outside, and then you eat it, and it's like you get this heat and you get a little extra lime. Oh yeah, really good.
When are we gonna launch our sister podcast on the network for just talking about Taco Bell orders? Every episode we bring on a new guest and we break down their Taco Bell order and use that as a window into their psyche and how they approach conflict, life, and everything in between.
Yeah, it's called Taco Quest. Be looking out for it on the Polymedia Network coming soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Enough goofy stuff. Let's get into the serious game discussion because everybody comes here for the indie game talk. So we brought a bunch of indie game talk today for them. So what we like to do is we bring a couple of indie games, one apiece, and we throw it onto the quest log. So first up, Steve, what game did you bring for us today?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to land on what I wanted to bring this time. I've been playing a lot of different things. I'm working through some stuff we've talked about on the show before. I have some newer releases that I'm playing, but I decided I'm in the mood to go back to an old classic. I think maybe an indie game that just deserves a little bit more love. Something that people really haven't. I don't know. It feels like it's maybe a little lost to time at this point. So I'm bringing. It's called. Well, people just call it Skyrim, but its full name is The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Have you ever heard of this one?
Yeah, I've heard it on a couple podcasts, but I haven't really looked too much into it. So why don't you break it down for us?
Sure. Yeah, I was actually surprised to learn doing some research for this episode. It's apparently part of a series. There's been multiple of these. I'm surprised that they really haven't kicked off or launched, but there's something there's a dagger or something one, something something about Turn of the Wind or something. I'm not sure, but anyways, so it's essentially it's a fantasy action role-playing game, but it's kind of main hook, I guess. The thing that sets it apart is that most fantasy games are set in forests and they're set in kind of these whimsical, fantastical, colorful worlds. Skyrim it's just snow. It's almost black and white. It's so desaturated. It's all set across these snowy mountains, some caves, but mostly just a lot of snow. And you'd think, based on that they would have mechanics around keeping yourself warm or temperature or something like that, but no, they really don't. It plays like a pretty stock standard action RPG. I mean, you can get different skills, different spells, different abilities. There's different towns you can explore, different NPCs you can meet, different quests you can get. It's imagine if they took something to pull from a more popular game, something like Dark Cloud, and they, rather than had individual dungeons, they kind of combined all those dungeons into one larger world.
That's pretty ambitious for a small team. So do you know, is there combat in this game? Is there crafting? Because I've been trying this early access game recently, Valheim, which is you just craft it's kind of like Minecraft, you craft your base and everything. Is it like that, or are you just exploring and fighting creatures in the world?
It's got a little bit of both, actually. It has some crafting. You can do some blacksmithing. There's a lot of different sort of combat and non-combat skill trees that you can progress down to do all sorts of things. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, you're going to spend most of your time adventuring through the world, going through caves, going through forests and stuff, across these different mountainsides, beating up a bunch of goblins and a bunch of spiders to get loot and get new weapons and new gear that will make you strong enough to go to the next cave to do it all over again.
how's the music in it? Do you feel like you're on this epic adventure? How does it sound?
It's pretty good. It's pretty memorable. You know, it's kind of like generic-y orchestral stuff, sort of like movie score wannabe, but it reminds me of, I guess, just like some of the like straight to VHS Disney movies where you're like, this is pretty good, but it's not blowing my mind.
Yeah.
It's done by a guy named Jeremy Soule, who he's done a bunch of stuff, but I think what he's most popular for is Pajama Sam and the Putt Putt games, like Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, Putt Putt Lost in Time, those old like kid point and click adventure style games. He did the soundtracks for those, and this is sort of like one of his bigger roles, I think.
Your description sounds all right, but it doesn't really sound like it's blowing me away or anything. But I'll check out the soundtrack after the fact, I'm sure, while I'm editing the show or whatever.
Yeah, you should check it out. There's like kind of the main theme reminds me a lot of the Halo theme, but again, lower budget. Just kind of they don't have the opportunity to get like a full orchestra producing it, so it's a little more synthesized than it otherwise would be.
So you said this game is fantastical. Sometimes when you do like a fantastical setting, it's like, you know, medieval knights and horses and stuff like that. Is there like magic and like creatures? You did mention some spiders or stuff like that. Do you wield magic in this game, or is it just like hack and slash? And also, is it first person or third person? Which I actually haven't asked you yet, or we haven't really described.
Yeah, so I mean, it's mostly like small little basic creatures. At the very beginning of the game, you like outrun a dragon that has attacked you, and then weirdly enough, your main character just kind of decides, oh, well, I almost just got killed by a dragon, so I should make it my quest to go and defeat a bunch of dragons. But then you almost never see dragons. You just see like little rats and just vermin and things like that most of the time. It's usually stuff that would go up to your knees, if even, you know. Honestly, yeah. The hardest enemies that you're going to fight the most in this game are the guards in the towns, because it's super easy for you to accidentally steal stuff. Like you just walk by and accidentally grab the freaking jar off of a shopkeep's counter or something like that, and then before you know it, the guards are attacking you and throwing you in jail.
Is it like a Monopoly situation? Like, don't pass go, collect 200. No, I'm just kidding. If you get arrested and go to jail, how do you get out of jail? Is there like a bartering system, or do you even know? Has that happened?
Oh, I haven't played this game very much. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I haven't even really gotten thrown in jail. I've just seen some videos and stuff, watched some Twitch streamers of people doing it. Honestly, the way that I spent most of my time in this game, and a lot of people seem to spend most of their time in this game, is they just steal or buy a bunches of like cheese or apples or something, and they go to a random NPC's house and they just fill up a room with cheese just to, you know, have a lot of cheese available, I guess. It's that kind of game.
What kind of cheese we talking? Like mozzarella, sharp, Gouda, or is it even specified? I mean,
I could tell you it's in wheel form, and it's definitely a yellow cheese. So hopefully a cheddar, maybe a nice Colby. Not a Colby Jack. There is no white marbling in this cheese.
Interesting. So we talked about the cheese. We talked about the gameplay. Is there any story to this game? How's the storyline? Do you enjoy it, or can you follow it?
Yeah, I mean, it does have a storyline. Again, I haven't gone very far, but after you sort of set on your quest to defeat these different dragons, you wander into a couple of towns and, like, you know, people are talking about their brothers are getting attacked, or you're talking to some king or some royalty that's sending you off to do this and that. It's kind of aimless. Like, it feels like, you know how The Hobbit only needed to be one movie, but it turned out to be like 9 movies? This is like the game version of that.
Oh, so you're just walking to a mountain the entire time? Or?
I mean, literally, yeah. Everywhere you look, there's a mountain off in the distance, and you're wandering over to it.
All right. Well, any final thoughts or random tidbits you want to tell us before we put it on the quest log today?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's pretty fun. It's a little rough around the edges. It's up to you to decide if you think it holds up pretty well. There is a VR version that is actually really good. I've heard some complaints from people that it gives them motion sickness, but I thought it was totally fine, and it was actually kind of my preferred way to play it. But if you don't want to play on VR, it's on all kinds of systems. It's on, you know, PC, it's on modern consoles, I think it's on last gen consoles. You really, everywhere you look, you're going to be able to find a version of this game, which again is surprising to me that more people haven't, talked about it or written in asking us to cover it on the show.
Yeah. I was looking it up right now. It's actually on Alexa. Did you know that?
Oh no, I had no idea. Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder how they make that work. I'm looking at some screenshot for this game. It looks pretty nice. Like graphics are a little dated. How old is this game? It's been out for a few years, right?
Yeah, I think it came out in like early 2010s. I want to say it was like a 360 exclusive for a little while or something. I'm not too sure. But I mean, again, I hope I did a good job explaining it. I've only played this game for about an hour or two. Usually on IndieQuest, I like to play all the way through a game to kind of give it its treatment. But I really felt like in this case, I had already sort of done and seen everything I needed to. I really got the complete picture just from playing it for an hour or two. And that was in the VR version, so it moves a little bit slower. But yeah, overall, cool.
All right. So we do this thing on IndieQuest. We have like this like giant list we've been building over the course of these episodes where we basically put together the biggest and best list of indie games, at least to us, at least in our opinion, it's the best list of indie games that exists on the internet. So we have two sections for this quest log. We have the main quest and the side quest. If it's a main quest, it's a game that is just a masterpiece. You got to play it right now. It's the best game out there. If you don't just drop everything and buy this game or play it right away, then you're missing out. And then you have the side quest, which is really good game, but there's a couple of caveats, but it's still a recommendation. So where do you put Skyrim on the quest log?
I mean, to me, this feels like a dead ringer for the side quest. It does some cool things. It's fun. It has some ambition that it doesn't always achieve. But, like I said, I played it for a couple hours. I had my fun with it. It was definitely fun. It was fun enough to bring here to the show. But it wasn't something that, it wasn't a core shaker. It's not something that I think will stand the test of time. Like Disc Room. It's not going to be a household name like that game is.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I haven't tried it myself yet, but I'll definitely check it out when I got some time to spare. Hopefully it's like on a sale for a couple bucks or something. I'll just pick it up and try it out.
So yeah, that's Skyrim. Like I said, solid side quest game, a lot of fun. Not a core shaker, but pretty solid. What do you have for us? What'd you bring today?
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth between some indie games. I had Far Cry 3, and then I had what was that other one? Super Mario 3D World. That was another one I was thinking about bringing, but I didn't really put enough time into them, so I wanted to bring like a classic. It kind of came out almost near the same era as yours. It's a game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and it's published by Activision in 2009. So looking into Skyrim as you were talking, it's like 2 years before Skyrim. So to me, this game is pretty much gonna kick Skyrim's ass. This is like one of the best games I've ever played. Like state-of-the-art graphics for the time, just near flawless gunplay. It's a military shooter, so I know that's a turnoff for a lot of people, but to me, it's just so addicting to get in there and just own some noobs, to use Elite Speak. Have you ever heard of Elite Speak, man?
Yeah, I actually used to speak it fluently. I actually took a semester of college and I moved to this reservation where we spoke exclusively in Elite Speak. It was eye-opening.
Yeah, well, you're my pog champ. For an indie studio like Activision and like Infinity Ward, this seems like, I don't know how big the team is, but I know it's not very big. For the amount of work and effort they put into this game, I'm surprised at how awesome it is. Like, it plays so well. I know they actually got some tech from the Quake engine back in the day. So they brought that tech and they modernized it. And this game is just full of content. There's a campaign mode that's like 20 hours long almost, with fully featured actors, like facial capture, motion capture.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I didn't mention, it's a first-person game. So if you imagine just your standard military first-person shooter, this isn't that. I think that they really take leaps and really just go all out, especially the multiplayer mode. It has like a leveling up progression system. I think this might have been the first of its kind. I mean, I'm not sure if any other game did it before it or if it's building off of anything from the past, but you basically can level up your weapons, get more weapons, and make your character completely leveled out and get like really crazy like shotguns, machine guns, pistols, and you know,
Wow.
it's just a really addicting game. I put like maybe like 14 days of gameplay into this game in the last 12 days.
Dang. So what mode do you find yourself gravitating towards most? Is it the multiplayer? Is it the co-op stuff? What are you usually doing?
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't slept too much recently, but the one I really gravitate towards the most is the multiplayer. It's very addicting. Like I just think the grind and like getting yourself leveled up more and more. I'm not really a fan of RPGs or leveling up at all. Like they're kind of boring to me. I don't really like leveling up, but for some reason I just want to keep grinding. I don't really understand, but eventually I did get to level 50. But the thing is, once you get to level 50, you can what's the word for it? Like you can re-level back to 1. Prestige, that's the word I'm looking for. You can prestige, and I'm like prestige level 17, and I've only been playing for 14 days in the last 12. So I mean, been doing pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're really crushing it. Does it have like, online leaderboards, or is there like a community that plays this online that you've joined up with? Like what's the community like?
I'm not gonna lie, I mean it's a pretty small, tight-knit community, so there's a lot of hacked lobbies.
Oh.
So a lot of that was me XP grinding on some hacked servers, I'm not gonna lie, but I had a good time with it. And I had to bring it and talk about it because I really think that they do such a good job in making you feel like you're powerful. You can just kill all these people. I know it sounds pretty brutal when I say it like that, but you just feel like a killing machine. You know what I mean? Like an action star when you're playing this game.
I mean, it sounds like, and granted, I haven't really played it, so I don't want to speak out of line. Let me know if this is true, though. It's kind of honoring that legacy of like, Doom 2, Quake, a lot, Unreal Tournament, a lot of those classic shooters.
Yeah, it does have that feel. There's sadly they had released a patch where they removed all the demons in the game. At first it was kind of like Doom, and they had demons in the game and like zombies and stuff, but it kind of got a lot of like negative feedback from the press, so they went ahead and just made it straight military. And they also added, during that same patch, they added this thing called the Spec Ops mode, which are these like co-op multiplayer maps. So it was kind of like a make good for the community, And there's like a sniper one, there's like a breach and clear one. So they're kind of like short, like 10 to 20 minute little missions that you can play with your buddies, which I think I need to have somebody play those with me. They looked really cool. I tried to do one single player and I just got killed like instantly. So maybe I'd need to like get you to come on there and play it with me or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's squad up, buddy. Let's do it. But I gotta ask, whenever I think of first person shooters, it's like what are the core elements of a first person shooter, right? Like you want to make sure that it's got a real visual clarity so you can see your enemies and shoot them. Yeah, sure. You want to make sure that the gunplay is fluent and smooth and it's accurate. It feels appropriate. The guns have the right weight and things like that. But the thing that I always think is most important in a first-person shooter is the soundtrack. So what's the soundtrack like?
I'm online, modern warfare 2 times. Yeah. I don't like using my legs much, like Christopher Reeve. I'd rather lay down and not rush. She's the BB. Why are you hating, BB? You can come camp with me.
I don't think it's anything special, really, but it's kind of like this industrial, like military-ish sounding. It has like the orchestra hits and then kind of like a grimy industrial feel to it. It's by this composer named Hans Zimmer. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's from like the Madagascar soundtrack, and he did the Simpsons movie soundtrack.
Oh, did he write that Spider Pig song?
I assume so. I'm not sure, but I mean, for an indie studio, that's a huge get. I would say like he did 2 really huge animated movies. I don't know a lot about him though, but
it's always cool when you see these, I guess more successful composers, people that are in more traditionally viable industries like the film industry and stuff, just pick up like whether it's a passion project for them or they're just looking for a little more creative flexibility, for them to pick up one of these lesser known side jobs to really flex their creative muscle.
You could really feel the passion in it. They really do nail the feel for it. I don't think any of the songs are super memorable, but when you're in the game, you hear that menu music, you're like, oh yeah, it's time to frag some noobs. You know, you're ready to go. You get that feel, and I do think they do a good job with the sound up effects, like the leveling up effects. It's like a riffing guitar, shredding guitar every time you level up. So it's like you get that endorphin rush. So maybe that's what's been keeping me going over the last few days playing this. I'm not sure, but definitely great sound effects. I do think the sound effects might be a little better than the music, but the music's all right.
Awesome. I mean, it sounds like a great game. Anything else that you want to share with the people? Anything else worth mentioning about it?
I honestly think this is one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. Like, it kind of changed my life a little bit. It made me rethink, like, existence. And, when you're out there on the battlefield and you're killing all these people, you think of the frivolity of war. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The fragility.
The fragility of mankind, right? It's like, where do I end and where does the gun begin? You start to lose sight of that.
Exactly, and you get blinded. You get blinded by rage. You get blinded by passion. Like me and this interception sniper rifle against the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty natural feeling when you get into these military simulators. Like, I did not want to stop killing. I just wanted to just keep getting, the bloodshed was keeping me going. So, I mean, that has to be a commentary on something, I'm trying to read into this whole situation, but, I'm not sure.
I mean, some stories are just stories, right? They don't always have to have a big thematic core. But I should play the game for myself before I really reserve any judgment or make any assumptions about what tale they're trying to tell.
I don't know, man, but I did get that bloodlust, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that kind of brings us into that classic IndieQuest question, main quest or side quest?
Oh, if I could put it higher than a main quest, I would, but this is like main quest with a bullet. This game did things for me more than Outer Wilds, more than any of these games we put on here. Like, this is like the best game I've played of all time. So, for me, with a bullet, literally with a bullet, I put it on the main quest.
All right. Well, I hate to not give it sort of its full due. What we could do is we could put it on the main quest, and then let's maybe just take everything that's currently on the main quest and push all that onto the side quests so that the main quest is just Modern Warfare.
No, it's Modern Warfare 2, but yes, I agree with you. Let's do that.
I mean, the first Modern Warfare would probably just be a side quest game, right?
I never played it. I didn't even know it existed.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, me neither.
So we did our indie picks, and in talking to you, we wanted to bring back one of the segments we had on the very first episode of the show. Do you know what segment that is?
I do. It is the Indies to Follow segment, where we have picked out, just a couple of studios, a couple of indie developers that are either working on cool stuff or that we just respect their body of work and we want to give you all a heads up on so that you can give them a follow on Twitter or wherever it is that you handle your social media, and then maybe you can keep tabs on their upcoming releases.
Okay, first up, we actually had the studio that published the game that I brought. I know it's cheating, but I really wanted to talk about Activision Blizzard because that game blew me out of the water so much that I wanted to just highlight the studio as well.
I had heard of Modern Warfare 2 when you brought it, but what else have they done?
They did this like little MMO. It's like startup MMO. It's called World of Warcraft. I don't think it went anywhere, but it has a cult following. Like, there's a small fan base that has been kind of keeping it alive over the years. But they had that, and then they had another game called Did you say Diablo or Diablo on that one?
Diablo, like the sauce from Taco Bell.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then another one called Overwatch, which I really don't know a lot about it. It looks like a cool shooter. I'll probably try it sometime. It has a nice art style from the screenshots. Cool. And then, of course, my pick, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That's the only Call of Duty they've ever made. Oh, wait. Google this real quick. What? There's like 20 of these things. Did you know
that? No. I mean, are you sure you're not just looking up like different releases for different regions where they changed the name or something like that?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm guessing there's more Call of Duties. I mean, I need to look into this after the podcast because I didn't realize that, and it makes me excited because maybe the main quest will be all Call of Duties after I play them. Who knows?
Awesome.
I think the thing they're best known for, though, it's a classic game. They've actually been around for quite some time. This little game called Rock and Roll Racing, which I would not qualify as an indie game, but I wanted to bring it to the table, say, hey, they made that game for the Super Nintendo. Have you played Rock and Roll Racing?
Yeah, I love Rock and Roll Racing. So that's awesome. So this little studio, no one really ever thinks of who developed Rock and Roll Racing, but it is a real classic game. So this studio made this relatively decent budget game for the time. And then they kind of went off and broke bad and went independent and started publishing their own stuff. That's really cool, actually. I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, not the biggest team ever, but they've brought some games to the table. And I know that they have like a thing where they do put gameplay first. So for me, playing Call of Duty and playing Rock and Roll Racing, I can see that, that vision. Even from now, and that game is 12 years old. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I haven't really played any of their modern stuff really, but just seeing the vision from those two games, I can tell that they prioritize gameplay, which is awesome. So I really do think this is an indie to follow.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm following them right now on my Twitter, so there we go.
So that's going to be at ATVI_AB on Twitter. I think they only have a couple hundred follows, so if you guys can get over there, our little listener base, and boost up their follows, that'd be awesome.
Give them the old IndieQuest bump, let them know we sent you, and, who knows? Maybe we'll have them on the show someday.
That'd be awesome. So who do we have next for indies to follow today?
Yeah, so next one up, the one that I brought here is a studio maybe a little better known than Activision Blizzard, but still pretty under the radar. It's a studio called Nintendo. So Nintendo's been around for a long time. Long time. Since like 1889, they were originally a trading card company, and then they eventually got into video games. Although I don't know, that might be like the Atari thing where, yeah, the name Nintendo has existed the whole time, but the rights to it and the IP just gets kind of sold off and trades hands from time to time. Eventually it's owned by like a French hat maker that's just selling merch out of his
Speaker
Etsy
hats.
shop. Yeah, speaker hats, exactly. So it might be something like that. I'm not too sure, but they have made some franchises since they got into game development that you might have heard of. A lot of them they're sort of derivative of existing properties, but they do put their own spin on things. It's not a one and done environment for good ideas. So they've made the Super Mario games, 2D and 3D versions actually, which if you've already played Super Meat Boy or Yooka-Laylee, these are good also rans.
Yeah.
They have a series called Zelda, which is weird. It reminds me a lot of that old mobile and Vita game called Oceanhorn. Very reminiscent of that.
So it's like kind of like top down, like a fantasy setting type thing. I did like Oceanhorn. I actually played that on my phone and had a good time with it.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. In fact, so much so that you'd think that it would be basically just called an Oceanhorn-like. Like it's very similar. They also have another franchise, the Metroid franchise, specifically Super Metroid is kind of the best known, I think, out of those entries, which is, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. I haven't read this like confirmed in interviews or anything, but it's pretty obvious to me that they played Axiom Verge and then thought, oh, I can make one of these too, and then decided to go ahead and make their own version of that.
Wow, really? I think Axiom Verge is pretty fantastic. That game just really knocked my socks off when I played it. So any game that has even like somewhat similar look or feel to it, I'm down for.
Yeah, I mean, they're really good at making games that kind of scratch an itch that you can't scratch when you've already played the originals, right? Very good runner-ups. But yeah, really cool studio, a surprisingly wide catalog considering how relatively obscure they are. So if you want to check them out, they are at Nintendo on Twitter. And I'm excited to see what comes out of them next. I'd love for them to make an original IP.
So I'll bring our last one to the table today. A little studio, just a few people, a handful of people, and they all got together and they formed this little thing called EA, or Electronic Arts. They've been around since the 80s. It's kind of similar to Activision Blizzard, where they made a couple of games back in the day that didn't really stick, and then ever since then they kind of like broke off, and did their own thing, independent publishing. So they have some of these games called Battlefield, Mass Effect, Dead Space, and Mirror's Edge, and a lot more, but I really haven't heard too much talk about any of these games. They seem pretty small and under the radar. Have you heard of any of them?
No, not at all.
Yeah, they just really feel like they're trying to get that that grandiose indie feel. Like, I don't know if they ever quite get there. Like, it doesn't really feel like a Journey or a Sayonara Wild Hearts or an Outer Wilds or a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 now, which we just basically made the main quest just that game because it was so good. It's like my favorite game of all time. So I mean, they do try to, be reminiscent of these smaller games, but I don't really feel like they ever hit the mark too much. Like Mass Effect, it kind of feels like No Man's Sky, but less, because No Man's Sky is like this gigantic, ever expanding thing. And No Man's Sky, they try to put story with it for Mass Effect, but I haven't really heard too much about it. It's just such a small little endeavor, but from what I can tell, these games are at least solid to good.
Very cool. Yeah. The one game that I have heard of from them is Mirror's Edge. I didn't actually know that they developed it, so that's cool. I've never heard of any of those other franchises, but they seem. Oh, I'll keep my eye on them.
Yeah, me too. So if you guys want to follow them, it's at EA on Twitter. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just keep an eye on them. Maybe they'll be one of the breakout indies in the future. You never know.
Yeah, lucky for them that for such a small studio, they were able to get such a simple handle. Usually those short words and names are scooped up quick. They must be early Twitter adopters.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have at Josh on Twitter or something. So yeah, I'm pretty jealous when I see a short Twitter handle like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
All right, everybody. I think that's about it for the show. Steve, did you have a good time today talking about some indies?
I did. I always love these episodes where we can bring stuff where we can shed some light on stuff. Sometimes, I mean, we're fans of indie games. We'll bring, the Braids, we'll bring the Journeys, we'll bring kind of the all-stars of the indie scene because we think that they also deserve the credit that they get. But when we can take an episode like this and we can really just put the spotlight on these little teams doing something cool just for the passion of doing it, I don't know, that's really meaningful to me.
Just you talking about Skyrim, I know you only played it a couple hours, but I really need to actually buy that and try it out for once. It's kind of one that I've heard on the periphery of the indie scene, people will chit chat about it here and there. So it's kind of one that I'm so glad that you brought, and you're like, okay, well, I played enough to kind of get the gist of it. And from what you told me, it really does sound like something up my alley. Just finding out little games like that just really just warms my heart, and that's why I'm here talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Modern Warfare 2, man. I had definitely heard of it, but now I'll be downloading it tonight and checking it out. And yeah, it's just, I appreciate you bringing what you affectionately referred to as the greatest game ever made. So thank you.
Yeah, and we got to squad up, man. We got to squad up and talk shit and, just cuss at each other, yell at each other. When you get in the heat of battle, you just want to kill things. You just want to just destroy your enemy. You know what I mean?
No.
Thanks everybody for listening to IndieQuest. We love talking indie to you guys and hanging out. I think it's time for the plugs, don't you think?
Let's do some plugs, buddy.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Frantic Society and follow my shenanigans there. Where can they find you on the old Twitter sphere?
I am on Twitter and Twitch as Blinkoom. That's Blink-OOM, like Modern Warfare 2.
You can find the show on Twitter at IndieQuestPod to keep up with uploads and, future indie events or whatever we decide to do over there. Just follow us and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to send us your thoughts, questions, feedback, anything, if you want to try to send us indie recommendations, if you think you can obscure the picks that we brought today, if you can find something even less popular, let us know. We can be reached at indiequestpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
And we're also a part of the Polymedia Network, which is at polymedianetwork.com, which includes a bunch of awesome shows that you guys should check out, like Polykill, which Steve is a part of.
All about beating games and having fun. We've also got Tales of the Lesser Medium, which is essentially the funniest exploration of video game narratives you'll probably ever listen to.
And then we got PD's Power Hour, which is all about that drink. It's all about the good stuff, the alcohol. She breaks it down. You learn a lot of fun facts. You get a lot of recommendations for alcohol you might not have tried it in the past. And I do think it's a really illuminating show. It's really fun to listen to. And we also got Off Kilter, which is kind of like the media's, like the network's get together where we just play games, have fun, do some trivia, learn about new people in the network, stuff like that. It's just a really fun get together show. So check out that if you haven't yet.
Yeah. And then I guess worth mentioning, finally, we also have Drunk Friend, where Nest Friend and SNES Drunk bring on all sorts of people and basically just whoever is a master in their field, gaming or otherwise, do a little interview, get to know them, and yeah, you learn a lot.
That's a good show. It's really funny. There was an episode recently with Johnny Epco. I never know how to say his name, but look that up. It's a very recent episode, and SNES Drunk is just so snippy in that episode. It's just hilarious. It's a few weeks ago at this point, but if you haven't listened to it, I say try that episode and get some laughs. I think you'll have a good time.
Awesome. I will check it out.
Well, all I can think about right now is playing some more Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, so I want to get the hell off this podcast and do that now. So, Steve, why don't you say goodbye to the folks out there so I can go frag some noobs?
As always, people, just remember, just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean it's not good.
You're my Pog champ, so. God damn it. This is so bad. Alright. For an indie studio like Activision. I'm sorry. 14 days of gameplay into this game in the last 12 days?
Dang.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the fragility.
The fragility of mankind, right?
Yes.
It's like, where...
Alright. Just try to sound like a psychopath a little bit. Anyway. Yeah, they just really feel like they're trying to get that, like, that grandiose indie feel. Like, I don't know if they ever quite get there. Like, it doesn't really feel like a Journey or Sayonara Wild Hearts or an Outer Wilds or a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 now, which we just added to the quest log. Fuck, that got me. That one got me.
That's so good.
Okay. Compose myself. I want to. Okay. This is so stupid.
Oh, genius idea. We're a real pinky in the brain. All right.
All right.
Composure. You got this.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, good for it to not overstay its welcome. I like the energy you were bringing. Like a Hulk Hogan, like, you just entered the Thunderdome. This isn't the pandemic, it's the Slamdemic.